So what was a one-off video, which was a chat with Jake Lucky, has now turned into some sort of series because I have an issue with balance. As I was just saying, actually, before I click record, where, what I wanted to do was not formalize anything at all and just have chats with people who are doing interesting things in not just esports, but like gaming and in the wider space, I guess, because especially the first 3 years of me being in esports, I've been like such a purist to the point where I only cared about exactly what's happening right in esports, right around the competition, the organizations and such. But in like the past week or so, I don't know what it was, something that aligned in my head, like all the pieces came together and I was like, there's so many interesting things happening if I just stop like being so siloed with my view and look outside of it and look like, so I've been following you for quite a while now, and we did intend to speak and formally introduce ourselves and get to know each other a bit and stuff. And that never materialized. So for people watching at home right now, this is our first actual real conversation.
Here we are.
So excited. I'd say that two things drew me to follow you initially. Is I'd heard of your company before I even know who you were. So that's an interesting thing where it's like, okay, you've built something that's bigger than yourself, which is obviously the goal for a lot of people in business. And also when you look at your Twitter feed, I'd say I've got a lot of similar interests to you, or there may be some themes that we're both kind of linked in, and in terms of like personal development and like career development and like productivity, but also achieving some sort of balance and such. Like I'm into it, I'm working on it, but I'm not quite there yet, you know. So seeing that that kind of combination was like, okay, that's a must follow. And so say I've been following you for 6 months now, like it's almost a fresher breath air, because a lot of people tweet the kind of things we tweet, right? But I'm interested to see if you approach it the same way. You tweet those things as you kind of are thinking about them as you work them out, kind of informed by just your thoughts, whether you've understood something or kind of been wrong about something. There's a lesson to be learned there either way. And also it's kind of a reminder to yourself, and it also helps you to refine your thinking, right? If you're like distilling like a life lesson or like
it's self-accountability essentially,
right? So would you say that's fair? Like it's you're really interested in how things tick, like getting the best out of situations and then documenting it, because at the end of the day it is free content, right, to tweet your thoughts.
Yeah. So first off, I appreciate the follow. Pretty cool that you're even following this. That's awesome. But on my end, like it's a mix of both. So I actually set aside time every Monday, I believe it is, Monday afternoon, and I'll set aside like an hour, 2 hours, and I actually document everything that I have throughout the week in an app called Notion.so. We use Notion for everything. And so on Monday, I'll go back and I'll be like, well, last Wednesday, I had this thought, let's continue that thought process. And whether it's a Twitter thread or, jotting down an idea, that's typically what I do. But the other part is also learning in public. So to your point, like it's that accountability of like, if I speak this out into the world, like you kind of have to drink your own champagne per se, and follow what you're saying. So I try to be a thought leader for other designers in the esports space as well. There's a lot of folks out there that are severely undervalued or just need help, like getting started or getting on their feet in terms of like running their own business, their own studio, freelancing, whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, if there's one tweet out there that helps someone, I consider that a huge success.
Exactly that. And I have friends who follow me, like I'd say like real life friends who don't, they know part of like the work me, but they really just know me shooting the shit. And they read like some of my tweets and they're like, this just doesn't seem like you at all. And they'll like rib me for like putting these things out and say like I'm trying to be wise and stuff. And I'm just like, no, I don't think you necessarily get it. Like I personally don't really tweet it for other people too much. Of course, if I've learned something and I can like help someone advance their thoughts on something or for them to avoid a mistake that I've made, then of course it's worthwhile. But a lot of the time it's just me processing my thoughts where I'm at. And sometimes it can kind of seem wishy-washy, but like the person's only going to understand it if they're kind of ready to receive whatever they're reading. Absolutely. Right? Like, so these lessons do seem empty to those who have either understood it, it's just come naturally to them years ago. They reached out understanding ages ago, or it's the people who are, yeah, exactly. Like they won't even be expecting it. They're not necessarily looking for something, but something can hit them and then it changes. So like I decided to start looking after myself physically last
Mm-hmm.
year, and I somewhat documented my progress. Not a huge amount, but like every 3 months or so, I'd drop in and say, look, like I'm down like 60 pounds now or something like that. And
people love to see that journey
for real. And like the amount of people that message me and say, oh, have you got any tips? And I'm like, well, I'm not the best person to come to, but like that's made them think
we're electing you as our leader.
It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like, well, I just know what works for me, you know? So it's kind of like, yeah, I have to be careful with that. But, and the amount of people that will privately say, oh, that's helped a lot. And I've been working out for the past month now. And even if it hasn't gone too great, like I'm starting to feel momentum with it. And it's just like, oh shit, yeah, you do it for that one person. Like, yeah, the best way also to like accommodate an audience is to like focus on one person individual, right? And individually, because trying to like, I don't know, does come up with something that applies to thousands of people is going to be almost impossible unless you find the one thing that they're linked together with. And I guess that's following you, but like I myself, I'm not a 2D person. So like I go through many different thoughts and stuff, you know. But so I was doing like very light research into you. Actually, it was just I was just interested in your background because I was like, okay, how did you get to this point? And this is way before we agreed to have a chat, by the way. And is that a Notion site you're using, by the way, in your in the script? Yeah, exactly.
It is, yeah.
I'm a Notion user, but I'm not quite advanced yet. I'm gonna get there though, because it seems just a ridiculously robust program.
Tool.
But nonetheless, so you were in cybersecurity, and then you went to, you'll say Nike, I say Nike, so I'll say Nike, right? Which you're repping right now. So I guess I've got two questions. How the hell do you even decide that, like, okay, I'm going to leave cybersecurity behind, which I'm sure is like a well-paid job and like respected job, and you feel like you're providing use to people. So how do you reach the point where you're like, okay, I need to get out of this? And two, like, what is it that led you to create VBI, which is a design marketplace? I think I'm fair to say, like creating assets and such for broadcasts and streamers. So like, how did that all come together? Because that's a big jump. That's like me going from a professional footballer to becoming like a plumber. You know, like it's just they don't necessarily link together in my mind, at least, but there may be something
absolutely
found, you know?
I think for context, I've always had like some sort of background and passion for design ever since I was like 12 years old. So I've always kind of had Photoshop and design software on the side, kind of what I did when I came home from the 9 to 5 every day, and just kind of change gears essentially. So growing up, I had a great mentor. She was out in DC, worked for the government, helped me essentially do all the right moves. I went to school for digital forensics, graduated, jumped straight into the FBI doing digital forensics.
Oh, wow.
And there's obviously moving into cybersecurity and digital forensics, they're kind of one of the same almost. And then moved out to the East Coast, went to like the financial side of things doing cybersecurity, and then ultimately landed at Nike. Now, throughout all this time, I actually started VBI in 2015. And 2015, man, I'm talking, we made like $80 a year or something like that.
Just and that was that so you small. Just saying, oh, I'll make some stream graphics.
Exactly. That was like when I first came across this notion of like doing pre-made designs to sell on the internet. So I started doing that, very much like just getting a few bucks here and there, and it was just for fun at that point. But we continued to do this, and throughout the years, as I kind of changed positions, East Coast to West Coast here in the States, VBI always followed me, still really enjoyed it. And if you're not familiar with cybersecurity, for me, I just got really, really frustrated. I got frustrated because it's the same old crap every single day. And I just felt like I take round peg, put it in round hole, square peg, square hole, that sort of thing, because ultimately people are the weakest link when it comes to security. So if I wanted to, send a phishing email or whatever and say, Adam from Dexerto says this about you. And like, people are like, what? What does that say?
Mm-hmm.
Open it up, enter their password, do whatever else. And I know in our conversation here, that sounds silly, but that sort of stuff happens every single day. You can put millions of dollars worth of security in front of something, and the human's always the weakest link. So, like I said, to be honest, I just got tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really applying myself. I wasn't challenging myself. Here I'd learned how to do some sort of coding and understanding malware and that sort of thing. So that was beneficial in terms of VBI, not because the malware part, obviously, but the coding, because it allows you to, trigger different events on stream, or take chat commands and then have them go do something else behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a part that is pretty rare in our industry. Like, you see a lot of designers who just create something
Mm-hmm.
was very surface level. That's one thing that we really pride ourselves on, is like, we're like an iceberg. Like, our product goes pretty deep in terms of the technical portion of it.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, to your point about like how the hell do you go from cybersecurity to VBI, I think it was 2018, 2019. I had finally saved up enough money at Nike to make this leap full time. My fiance's family lives here in Denver, Colorado. At the time, we were in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
We made a plan that said, look, we're going to move to Colorado. We're going to, kick it with her folks, get on our feet here, have a great support system, saved up enough money, and probably made the absolute scariest move of my life was, leaving a six-figure job to go make $0 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's terrifying. And so, obviously it's worked out. The payoff is real, but without a doubt, scariest feeling in the world. In fact, when I kind of think back on it, even now, you get like those thoughts and emotions. You're like, God, how did I make it through something like that? And so I seriously commend anyone who's made any sort of similar move, because it's incredibly scary.
So how long was it like a solo operation? And because now it seems like you've got quite a lot of people working with slash for you.
Mhm.
So like how long were you going at it alone before it was like, okay, I need to bring people in? Because I think like the dream for me at least, and I assume it's somewhat similar for you, is like passive income, right? It's like things can operate while you're still asleep.
Mhm.
Because we've got somewhat similar interests, I'm pretty sure we're kind of aligned there. So like at what point you're like, okay, I need help for this because like my income is attached to my output right now.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half after 2015.
Right? Oh, bloody hell.
Um,
Not bad going.
yeah, so we started doing commissions, essentially. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll make you a bespoke design, whatever the case may be, and we couldn't keep up with it. So it just started working with freelancers, and eventually turned those folks into full-time team members. And like you said today, like, we have a team of over 50 people around the world. And
Christ.
the best part about it is to your point about passive income, and on that same train of thought, uh, we have a very asynchronous team. We don't need to be there in a meeting together. We don't need to be, in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
We can recruit the best talent in the world, internationally. So we're not tied to one specific location. So, especially with this day and age, there's so many amazing tools out there that enable us to collaborate and give feedback in a way as if, we're sitting right next to each other. So it's just been amazing to grow alongside with this team.
Would you say like being creative is something that was alluring to you, like being able to like just like actually be creative and think outside of the box, and as you say, like not just having the round peg round hole all the time. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, how the hell do I pull this off? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure that must have been a big part for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And cybersecurity, don't get me wrong, there's some different ways you can be creative, but it's not the same as a sort of left brain, right brain sort of thing. Um, it is fun to approach a problem in design and go, look, you literally have a billion different ways to solve this. What's your best way forward?
Hmm.
And so that challenge is really exciting to me. And for me personally, now I'm a bit more on the business side of things.
Yeah.
It's funny, my team, and thank God they did it. My team has pushed me out of the design space. They're like, no, old man, we don't need you, doing all the design stuff, which is great. Because it's allowed me to kind of uncover my true passion of business, and of course working alongside all these talented people make my job even easier. So but yeah, it's just been quite the journey.
So you almost accidentally became a first time founder. Like you
Hmm.
definitely didn't have that inkling at the beginning. Like, okay, I'm going to start this. This is it. This is going to be my full time work one day. It was just
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm interested in doing this. It allows me to exercise a different type of thought, or maybe to
Yeah.
switch my mind off completely and just go cerebral and just do whatever comes
Yeah.
to mind for this design.
It was a
Um,
side hustle, essentially.
yeah, yeah, and here you are with like 50 people, right? So
Hmm.
that's some growth. And so, did you say at the beginning you were doing pre-made designs and dishing those out?
Hmm.
So
For a
that's
dollar, 50 cents,
right. So
something
that's
crazy like
that's
that.
scalable in a sense at that point, right? And then when you start going to commission and doing bespoke pieces, that removes that. So like, have you got any kind of, I guess, like passive elements or like pre-made elements that allow you to just, I'm asleep, but look, we're still
Hmm.
serving people, right? I'm sure you got
Yeah.
plenty of those on the go.
Yeah. So back in the days of us first starting, if I would wake up in the morning and I made $1 or $2, I'm like, oh boy, look
You're
out, world.
rich.
Yeah, exactly. That was a cool feeling. Now we've tripled down on that. There's many days where whether especially on the weekends, weekdays, whatever, you step away or you wake up next day. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to inspire other creatives in the space because I truly want more of us in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the most amazing feeling waking up to now thousands of dollars. That feeling of that passive income, when you kind of scale it out or you map it out in terms of work, your work looks like this from the
Mm-hmm.
start, and then it goes like this. And so here we are over here on this point in time, and you're waking up with passive income. So that it's definitely my goal to continue to inspire more people, give them the framework of how to do those things. You have to treat your designs like a product.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that are just straight up treating designs like designs, and it's the wrong approach, in my opinion. You have to productize it.
Oh, for sure. And a trend that seems to be happening more so now, but obviously it's happened in the past, but especially now with the internet, is like productizing yourself. And obviously, I have not
Hmm.
coined that term by any means, but like, so I'm not saying that that's what I'm going to attempt to do in the future, but I mean, I feel like I'd be foolish not to. But
Yeah.
I'm in full-time employment, happy full-time employment at Decerto, so I would never say anything to disrupt that by any means. But look, like I think, yeah, it's too alluring. Like I don't want to be, I don't want to have to wait till I'm 70, 72 or whatever it'll be by then to like retire and then like, oh, I've got some free time now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to do that. So I think like being able to, yeah, like detach, or as Jack Butcher would say, like divorce your time and income, like just
Hmm.
seems like a no-brainer if you're able to do so. And the internet allows so many opportunities to do that. And I still think we're probably at like 1% of where it'll be.
Yep.
And like the future, I could see a world in which there are more people who are independent than there are more people employed at some point. Like
Hmm.
obviously, way down the line, if we haven't fucked the planet up and made ourselves extinct by then, like
Hmm.
just with what we've got. So it's only going to keep growing, that kind of productizing yourself, and that's obviously the best way to do it. So it's cool to see that someone within in the gaming space as such as kind of got to the point where you have, because I don't think it's definitely not spoken about too much in like the gaming esports world at all. Like the conversation we're having now, for example,
Hmm.
like the business in this sense, all the focus or most of the focus seems to be on the organizations, because there's a large scale operations that are raising millions in VC.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's what esports as its core revolves around, is the teams, right? And obviously as the tournament organizers secondary, but all the people, the supplementary companies that are actually making things possible and then making things look good and making things functional are kind of like pushed aside a little bit, or as a much more of a niche community following them is probably the best way of putting
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
but one thing I want to touch on quickly, actually. So we discussed how like the creativity was alluring, and now you're saying like you're really hands off on that kind of thing. But like, are you happier now being not designing all the time and such as your job?
1000%. I mean, I'm sure that you probably follow the same sort of mental model, but you got to surround yourself with people that are way smarter than you.
I'm trying. I just can't find any, mate, for some reason.
And that's exactly what I do, especially on the creative side with our team. These people can design something in 5 minutes that would take me 5 hours to create something of that caliber.
Yeah.
So
the youth of today are incredible.
Absolutely.
I'm 26 and I'm old now in like in internet years, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. And so now like being able to focus on the business side of things has been a blessing. So incredibly happy with that. And it's just, I was thinking like back when I think it was a little bit after starting VBI, I was super interested in day trading.
Okay.
And it can go a few different ways. It can be really, really good, could be really bad. And I think the allure to that was I was interested in like the freedom. So thinking about like, well, one day I could wake up and if I feel like working today, I can, great. If not, then I don't. And I just day trade and kind of decide my fate that way. But then to your point, you know, Jack Butcher is amazing about this, divorcing your time and money. I'm like, well, why not just create passive income, you know, through something that I'm already passionate about?
Yeah.
How do I combine gaming plus design, you know, and these two? So it's definitely interesting early days.
And I'd say as a journalist, like that's something that I've been trying to think like, okay, how do I actually productize myself, right? And it's like I can go by it a couple of ways, but I feel like I almost have to generalize myself more and or maybe look at myself as a writer as opposed to a journalist, because there are some journalists going independent now and like they'll go on a Substack and everything, but I'm not sure how that's going to turn out long term. But it seems like on the creative side, like if you're able to create visually as opposed to like writing, that seems to be a surefire way. I'm not so sure on the writing aspect now. Of course, there's like the Pomp brothers and stuff who are doing great, but again, they're substacking it. It just seems like there's almost one path at the moment if you're a writer. But then there are also like Pomp is like podcasting and doing a daily show with his better half and such, right? So it's like it seems at the moment I haven't cracked the code as to like how I could move forward in years to come when I built a good audience, for example. I don't know how I do it. Whereas if I was like a visual artist, I'd be like, okay, well, it seems like there's many more paths here, and I don't know if that's just like the flexibility of your craft, for example, of like designing versus mine, which is quite rigid. It's always just eyes looking at a page and reading down. Like it's almost going to be the same thing, unless you can
like
do some. Sorry, yeah, go for it. Yeah, it is.
It's yin and yang. So for us, we have a guy on the team. His name is Nick. Nick is our absolute savior. He is our content manager, and essentially what he helps us do is copywriting. And so anytime you see a blog on our site or you see a product page or, you know, what it says on the homepage itself, that's Nick, you know, spending hard time and work, you know, figuring out, well, what's the best way to get people to convert, you know, through this headline or through this blog, whatever the case may be. And he's also helped me ghostwrite a few things in the past as well. That dude is absolutely amazing. So I think that you know, when you're talking about Nick, he's not an incredibly creative, you know, visually talented person. But when you take that with someone who is, and, you know, combine those two, it makes VBI and, you know, everything that our team does an unstoppable force. So I think there's absolutely a place for it. And everyone should be thinking about how to productize themselves because there's room for everyone at the table.
Well, one thing I've been like, so on this kind of train of thought of like productizing stuff, like, so Skylar Johnson, good friend of mine, he works too hard for me to be able to actually speak to him these days. But so he's got a few companies on the go, but I think how they're set up, or whether it's Joyce or not, like he's so involved with like every aspect of what he's doing. Like he's going the exact opposite route. He's just like the David Goggins of like the creative space in
Mm-hmm.
gaming and esports right now, where it's just like, I'm just going to work harder than absolutely everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna sleep. Like, I'm behind the scenes just plugging away. Like, if you come and check on me, I'll be sat on my monitor, like cracking on, right? And I mean, it's obviously working for him. Like Control, I think, has been around for about a year now, and that's doing insane. And Paper Crowns as well have built up a good audience and
Mm-hmm.
a good a customer base. I'd say they've got a lot
Mm-hmm.
of decent clients. So it's interesting to just see that approach as well, and almost remind myself, because I've been like one track thinking actually for a bit on the kind of passive side, just thinking like, look, like hard work will still take you hardest, like it take you far as fuck, but also you need that hard work in the beginning to be able to take the step back later on. Like, you need the foundation, you need to put in the hard work
Mm-hmm.
to get yourself to a spot where everything's set up. And then even then, I'm not saying like you can just sit back and never update
Right.
anything or not put
Right.
anything else out or not market yourself on Twitter. But yeah, I just wanted, I will speak to him at one point. I will get him to take an hour away from working, to actually, because I think he probably needs a break at some point. I don't even know if he took time off.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say that building the foundation is incredibly important. When you're early days on anything, you have to do that.
Mhm.
However, when you get a bit further into the game, and that 24/7 hustle mentality, that's a young man's game.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I've grown too old for that now.
I was gonna say, as folks like that continue on in their business, and as they get further into it, they'll realize that they'll work themselves straight into the ground. You got to
Mhm.
take some time to, focus on yourself. You have to have that balance. I'm talking like doing this for 10 years now,
Yeah.
between different verticals. So uh, it's a young man's game to do that 24/7, and I've seen a lot of people grow out of it, and um, always here to help those people, and try to figure out how to help balance life.
And talking of help, so your first time founder, as you say, like um, so when you decide to take the scary leap
Mhm.
to running this full time, you had like no prior experience running a business full time, right? So like, how did you find your footing during that? Did you lean on people with experience already heavily, or did you just kind of put your head down and just figure things out? I assume there's a lot of flexibility needed, and there's probably a lot of late nights worrying to
Mhm.
make it happen. So like, yeah, how did you kind of find your footing and really establish things and become like confident and competent leader of a business and a group of people?
The internet and books is ultimately what it is, and for someone who has like I said, I have my degree in digital forensics,
Mm-hmm.
and after you go through an experience like this, and I'm talking about like learning entrepreneurship, getting into it, learning how to apply yourself, so on and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
you start to question everything about your degree itself. You're like, well, wait a minute. So, got my degree in digital forensics, and was that just a formality to, you start to question everything. And I think that there's definitely a place in the world for college. I think that it's right for some people, it's right for
Mm-hmm.
others. But my VBI journey is completely self-taught. I surrounded myself with some amazing individuals outside of our team, that help mentor me as well. And forming those relationships is literally everything. Um, and like I said, the internet is your biggest prodigy to
Mm-hmm.
learn from.
I agree. So like, one thing I've never found like someone I'd say like as a formal mentor, but I've been aware of like that like resounding assessments they get and like how much they've helped people.
Mhm.
So like, how would you like advise someone to go and find someone who could help them, like, go through the motions and come out a stronger or better or more wise person, because I don't have a clue. I've never been able to do it myself.
It's funny. I actually tweeted yesterday
Oh, I missed that
about
one. I'm sorry.
saying about saying no to opportunities, or saying
Okay.
no to certain things. However, when you're looking to land, a mentor, or you're looking to network with people, you actually have to take the opposite approach to that. You have to say yes to a number of opportunities. Yes to going out to that networking event. Yes to going out on that coffee meetup, or whatever the case may be, with a friend or acquaintance or someone you met
Hmm.
through work or colleague, whatever. Um, when I was in Richmond, Virginia, that led to me networking with what I considered one of my mentors at the time out there, who was like, he was either single or double digit employee at eBay when they
Okay.
first got started.
Blimey.
And older gentleman taught me a ton about entrepreneurship and leadership, so on and so forth. So I think it's just a matter of saying yes to a number of those sort of opportunities. And even if you don't feel like doing it, don't feel like putting on clothes and going out in the world, like it is definitely healthy for you.
Well, yeah, when I first got into writing about esports, I said, well, I basically took on any and every freelance opportunity I could
Mm-hmm.
get. So I got to the point where I was like earning pretty fucking well actually from maybe 4 or 5 months in, but I was I was just doing too much, right? But I was like, I need to see how this works, and the best way to do that is to infiltrate every single company that I can,
Mm-hmm.
and like take in as much of it, like sponge absolutely as much of it as I can, meet everyone in the industry. And I wasn't like a super experienced journalist at this point, right? So I didn't quite understand just how important what I was doing in terms of like networking. And it wasn't like direct networking either. It was just I was in the same place as them. So like
Mm-hmm.
naturally I'm going to be able to learn from them and see what they're doing and chat with
Yep.
them. And obviously that benefits me massively in like my professional life as a journalist, but also just in general. I think like networking is like, I can't see that as a downside unless you get really unlucky with just like networking with an absolute waste of space. But even then, in the future to kind of avoid them, like they're not for you. When I say a waste of space, maybe someone you don't mesh with or as a charlatan, whatever it may be, like, so I guess you even learn from that. So I actually can't think of a downside of networking, like,
Yeah.
but also, as you say, about like saying no is incredibly important. And it's like, now I'm like on a mission to preserve my time.
Yes.
So I've got
Be
a
very protective of it.
but I've got a weird thing where it's like I don't want to turn down a potential opportunity that could come 17 years down the line from speaking with this person.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't want to spend my whole day networking because I need to write and I want to go record a video and I need to take some time away from work and stuff. So I've got a bit of a weird struggle going on. And I actually was the kind of person to not even admit that I'd have any sort of struggle. Like
Uh-huh.
I'd like to give the illusion that I had it all figured out. And I think actually my Twitter maybe makes me seem that way.
Of course, yeah.
Because
I'm
like,
sure
as you say,
people think the same.
we're tweeting out lessons, right? We're like our
Right.
thoughts, and so like they think, oh, this guy must think he has everything figured out, and it's like
Perfect.
it's like, no, it's the opposite way. Like the people who do this probably need it the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing it for myself. Like and as you say, if it helps one person, then that's absolutely great. But
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if it will. It's up to them to tell me that it's helped them as well. So I don't know. So best I can do is put it out there and see what happens. But yeah, so it's like the power of networking. I can't understate it, and I can't think of a real downside to it except for like the time expense. But the
Mm-hmm.
potential upside there is ridiculous. But also doing that while trying to protect your time, I'm not sure the best way of doing it. Maybe it's identifying the people you think. I think one way of doing it, I guess, is identifying the people who only want something from you. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they're only looking to like gain something from you. So if it's like, oh, I'd love to speak to you for this article, and then we're never going to speak again.
Right. You can
That's
always
something I
smell
get a
that from a
lot.
mile away.
Yeah. So I think that's one way of doing it, I guess. But you really, I don't think you can really tell someone's intentions on the
Mm-hmm.
internet. So you have to either vet them, which is more time,
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
tricky balance. But
It
yeah,
really
like
is.
time is the most important thing as I get older. I'm only 26, as I say, but like
Mm-hmm.
even now, I'm just like, oh, and I understand like the mortality of things, especially obviously with what's going on in the world. So it's just like I'm not going to wait until I'm old and wrinkly, or if I even reach being old and wrinkly, to have time.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm really working on there.
Yeah. To
So,
say, hold on to those 20s, man. I'm almost to the end of my 20s.
oh
It's
really?
very
You look
depressing.
younger than me, mate. Like,
I wish. I'm gonna be 30 this spring.
oh wow, okay.
Um,
Well, you can't tell,
and
mate. It's the being able to wake up and go, oh, I might go back to sleep for a bit. It's working wonders for your skin. That is.
yeah,
So,
it feels like yesterday I was 26, and like it just goes just like that.
mhm.
Um,
So I
feels
need to go pronto on any sort of goal that I set.
Yes, absolutely. Get going.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of like time, like what do you do in your spare time? Like what do you enjoy to do outside of work? That's a conversation that is not really had, like among I guess in esports, especially in esports, but like I guess in like more business or productivity based chats as well. There's not often a lot of like outside of work and outside of grinding. What do you do? Like what makes you happy, man?
Right now, I'm absolutely hooked on Cold War. I love everything about Cold War.
Okay.
Um, really got into zombies. Wasn't too much into it, in the previous genre or
Hmm.
the titles, but been into that. And this is going to sound kind of nerdy, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I truly do enjoy it. I Have you ever heard of the site Product Hunt?
I have, but it's been so long that I'm not too familiar
Okay,
now, but
so
I'm aware.
the gist is they basically have a curation of new tools, apps, and things that are coming out that people are promoting. I probably check Product Hunt every single day,
Okay.
and it's a matter of finding like a new app to try out, a new productivity tool that I think will make my life easier personally, or for the team. And I guess the lesson there is like at the end of the day, it's really, really hard to turn off the switch like when you're done working for the day.
Hmm.
I'm always thinking about it, but when I do, it's primarily probably reading Call of Duty. Um, we're in a bit of a weird situation at the moment because we are like in the final stretch of our house being built.
Right.
It feels like a process that's been going on forever. So kind of limited until that gets done. But it's been fun going out on the weekends, checking out the house progress and
Hmm.
dreaming about where you're going to put things and where things should go and what you're going to do with it. So,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, other than that, we have a dog, Noah. He's our black golden doodle. He keeps us pretty busy. But
I can imagine. I
yeah,
can imagine. But like actually, Cold War is the first Call of Duty title I haven't purchased since Call of Duty 4, which I think is
why is that?
2007, 2008, 2007. I think
I
Modern
think you're
Warfare 2 was
breaking the streak.
2009. Yeah, well, I mean, I got rid of my gaming console last year.
Mm,
I
that'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's hard to. I'm not going to buy the game if I can't play it, But no, I got to the point where I was around gaming and esports so much, I stopped watching it. And especially the coverage I provide, I'm not game specific.
Mhm.
I need to know what's happening in the entire industry. So I have to follow accounts like for League of Legends, all of them. So naturally, I kind of know what's going on. So I don't really need to watch stuff anymore.
Yeah,
If I'm
makes sense.
thinking of like a utility point of view, like for enjoyment, it's different. And then that kind of seeped over into playing as well. It was just like I just have no intent anymore. I went like 2 months without playing, and then I was like, oh shit, I've got a PS4 there. Like, okay, I'm obviously not into this anymore.
So you're not playing games anymore, but
No,
what does Adam Fitch do in his spare
yeah.
time then?
Well, I found a game that interests me, and it's chess,
Ooh,
and
okay.
that's something that everyone's kind of been on for a while now, and I've got theories about it. I'm actually writing an article about it, about
Does it have to do
why
with
it's
Queen's Gambit?
I haven't seen it. That's the thing. But
You
I
haven't
think
seen it?
no, not yet. But I think that's part of why it's blown up, right? I think it's been like a perfect storm as
Hmm.
to why this game's like elevated itself into where it is on like the online circuit, right? It's got to be that. It's got to be lockdowns.
Hmm.
I think there are a couple of other little bits as well, which obviously Twitch helps. It's like
Hmm.
it's an amplifier.
Yeah.
So I think like we've seen with like Among Us and stuff like things can catch fire and then take over very quickly, right?
Yeah. That's
So
gonna be that's gonna be really cool. I'm looking forward to that because there's recently, I don't know their names, but there's one of my teammates was showing me these twins that
they've
stream
just
on.
signed for Envy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and now we have
Botes sisters,
esport.
yeah.
Exactly. That's the name. Um, we now have esport teams signing chess players.
Hmm.
Like that's incredible.
TSM signed a grandmaster as well. I've actually uh, both Envy and TSM will be like commenting for the article and stuff, so I can dig into that a
Oh,
little
that's
bit.
gonna be so cool.
Chess.com have responded to me, but I haven't had time to read it yet with some comments as well. So like the piece will come together. So like just really interested as to how that's come to be. One question I'm not as interested in, but it's got to be asked is chess an esport? What defines an esport? Again, it's this age-old question.
Right.
But
Right.
like with teams signing players now as well on an online sport or an online game, I should say, that has a low barrier to entry, but it has a high skill ceiling and it has a skill gap. It
Right.
has formal competitions. Like I can't see how it doesn't qualify
Yeah.
for one,
No, I
So
agree.
I want to delve into that. But apart from that, I run, I sleep a lot. Like I went from in 2016, I like started my own blog just writing about shit I was into TV shows and movies, and I slept 4 hours a night for a full year.
Like, oh my God,
For a
I
full
would
year
be a
because
mess.
I was working in digital marketing during the day. So I'd wake up at like 6 a.m. I'd write for my blog, which is making no money. I just enjoyed writing about the stuff I enjoyed. And then I'd go to work 8:30, and then dinner hour at 12, I'd write 1 o'clock. Dinner hour ends, I'd work until 5, drive home, eat from 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. I'd write. And that was basically every day for a year. And it's just like that. I think I had to do that to really understand why I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it gives you an appreciation.
Jesus Christ. And so
It's
now
crazy.
like how I remember how I felt then, like a zombie. And then I think about how I feel now when I've had like an 8-hour sleep. And I sit at my desk and now and I'm it's all set up nicely and I'm clear and I know what I'm doing. I've prioritized. Like it's
Clean
just
slate every day.
every day. It's an insane level of productivity and the two don't even match. So like some people will think the former, the description, so like the grind is more productive, and some people will think what I'm doing now is more productive, right? And
Right.
it's just
Right.
it's interesting. It's almost like you have to experience the former to reach the latter
There's
in a
a
lot of
time and place
times.
for everything. Like your story, my story, all of our stories are very different. We're all in different points in our life. You
Hmm.
can't take the formula that's working for me and apply it to your life because
No.
chances are it's probably not going to work.
Hmm. For
And
sure.
that's been like the most frustrating part. Like I think that perturbs me, like that grind culture now, because I feel like there's so many people that glamorize it and they're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
Like I said, there's a time and place for it. You have to work hard and you have to do certain things in the beginning, but are you saying you want to do that until you're 70 years old? Like, not really sustainable.
No, I don't think so. And it's influential people doing it as well, and they're
Hmm.
painting esports to be an industry where you have to work in an unsustainable manner. I was like, no, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, as recent as
Right.
that, you'd have to do that. But it's just not where we're at now. And rightly or wrongly, whether it's inflated or not, whether it's a bubble or made up of millions of bubbles or not, whatever the case may be, like there is money now, and most people are willing to pay people if you're going to make them money in one way or the
Hmm.
other, right? They're going to obviously there's still people trying to do the whole intern volunteer thing and like we'll give
Hmm.
you exposure. Obviously that meme, but
Hmm.
we're not necessarily there anymore, So
Right.
which is obviously
Right.
something great. So I certainly don't encourage people to like bust their ass and obviously work hard, but like don't fuck up your entire life and health
Yeah, absolutely.
in pursuit
Put
of
some
something because
structure.
you won't even love it anymore by the time you get to it if you just
Right.
worn yourself down that much, right?
Right.
It's,
Right.
it's insane. But I do want to discuss like what kind of drives VBI, what kind of what you find like the target audience is. I think it's pretty clear, but like you must have some sort of niche. Are you competing with many people and such? So like just overall like the ethos behind it and what you're aiming to achieve with it and like any like long-term goals you have with the company.
Yeah, the biggest thing for us is we want to be able to be like a central place to inspire streamers
Mhm.
and content creators and designers. So those are our folks at our core. So if you are a Twitch streamer and you're like, man, where can I find like all of the latest, greatest, get my mind going on all these sorts of stream ideas, whether it's blogs or new designs or templates to use, free stuff, whatever. We hope that VBI is that place. And then obviously we want to tailor a variety of different products to hit each one of those segments. So while we do have an ideal kind of profile in mind, we also have the other side of that on the design end of things as well, where it's like so we've got the blueprint obviously on passive income and productising and that sort of thing. How do we share that with other people that are really willing to show up and work really hard alongside us to make something bigger than ourselves?
Right.
So we want to give those folks more opportunities. And so 2021 is a year of more opportunities forever, more than ever, for designers and getting people in that ecosystem. And ultimately the goal is, obviously they're not going to work with or for VBI forever. We don't have that unrealistic expectation, but what we do want them to have is when they do go to their next venture, they look back on and go, man, I learned XYZ from VBI and I've applied those skills through all of my life. That's our biggest goal. And the other big thing for us is just innovation. There are so many unique, whether you're talking APIs or code base, whatever the case may be, there's so many opportunities for us to connect and marry up designs plus technology. And there's been some people in the space that have done it, but we challenge that each and every single day, like to do something bigger and bigger and bigger. Because in our space, if you kind of curve this out or map it out as a curve, there's a lot of people that have caught up to VBI's sort of design standard, which is amazing. That's exactly what we want. And more people in this space makes all of us win. But the thing is, we want to take that functionality to the next level. It's great that it looks amazing, but does it actually work? Does it perform, do its job? Does it get chat hyped up? Does it, do well on the tournament graphics or the package that you've created for this company, whatever the case may be? So those are the things that we're really concerned with right now and working really hard towards.
So you're somewhat enabling like the future like giant entertainers that will be at some point. We don't know when. But at some point, the internet is going to entirely take over TV or be almost obsolete. I think that seems pretty clear at this point, and we're seeing it now. Somewhat like Mr. Beast and stuff, for example. But like the streamers and the content creators are like becoming the new stars. I think that's fair to say, and you and your team are enabling them to kind of level up where they're at. That's a good fucking mission.
Yeah,
that is a very good mission, right? And I think
it gets us out of bed every day.
That's somewhat scalable, like allowing I think a few more people will be content creators in the future. That's going to grow massively. So that seems like it's not even a niche at this point. Like that's wide open to absolutely everybody, right?
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, that's the fuel that gets us up, keeps us going each and every day. Even helping out people who have no idea what they're doing design wise and never expected their channel to be, at this quality, to give them the means to be able to do that is just absolutely the best feeling ever.
Do you do thumbnails?
We do.
I need better thumbnails.
We got you, Adam. We got you.
I'll save up for a year so I can afford your absolutely premium work. I'll commission you directly so you get to do some creative work
Adam's
again.
Putting me back in the lab. But that's definitely a big misconception that we also get is like, oh, VBI is ungodly expensive. Like they did Courage's stuff, they do Nate Shot, unattainable. And we try to challenge that each and every single day as well. Now, the point is, depending on budget, like we want to have, there's free products on the site. We want to get people to have like something that costs just a few $1,000s or whether there's a few dollars. We have projects that are like 6 figures. It depends on what you need, when you need it, that sort of thing. And we're trying to make some sort of solution that tailors to a wide variety of people, which is a large problem to take on, but
for sure,
a good one nonetheless.
Well, I mean, like even if you never reach that end goal, like you'd have reached a lot of people. And if you're saying there's projects worth 6 figures, then I will have to save up more than a year. By the way, I just make that bloody clear right now. I'll come to you when I'm 50 if I'm still if I'm still creating of some sort, and at that point you'll be on a yacht in I don't know, in a river, or
I'll probably be working for you. Let's be honest.
I don't think so. I don't know if I've got that. I can barely tolerate myself sometimes. I wouldn't subject other people to work under me. You know, that's just the truth. But
you never know.
So you say you've done work for like Courage and Nature. So when it comes to maybe a client that's represented, or a quote unquote big popular streamer and content creator, what's that process like? Because you guys are design experts. So why am I going to let some guy who's just good at gaming and shouting at a camera tell me how the fuck to design something? You know, like I'm wondering what that kind of process is like, and you might have to silence your ego a little bit because, like, you know best, right?
Yeah, it depends. Each and every client is different. Just taking those two examples for Jack Courage.
Oh, you're calling him first name basis. That's,
yeah, I was saying we're
a
like
flex.
That now. But no, he knew, he had a pretty good idea of the overall direction that he wanted to go in. And so we get to a point where we matched that direction, and he's like, all right, y'all got it from here, and just roll with it. Right. And so now, to this point, the new stuff that you see coming out on his channel, he completely trusts our team to, you know, execute on the vision. He knows the direction we're headed. And then you have folks like Nate Shot, who's incredibly busy running his organization, has a lot going on. And he's like, guys, you know that I love Christmas. Just go do something Christmas. Like, make it the coolest shit I've seen on Twitch. And you just
no pressure there.
Yeah. And so it's a wide variety on that scale. And then we have other people who literally want to design it alongside of us. What there's nothing wrong with, but it's definitely a change, you know, person to person.
Yeah, like if I was writing a story and I asked someone for a comment for the story, I wouldn't expect them to go, I might as well just write this story with you right now. Like, oh, how are you
right.
Bookmarking this? Like what are you putting before this comment? What are you putting after it? I need to make sure it flows properly, so I know what to. I'll be like, no, like this is not no, like I get paid to do this for a living. I'm actually kind of good at it, so. You're not, so you stay over there. I'll stay over here. See, that's why I will never be super successful, because I'm not agreeable enough.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. Like, I'll be very honest. There's times where you want to say that. You're like, look, at first I get it. I'm happy you're involved in the process. There comes a point where it's like, okay, do you want to design this, or do you want us to do this? And you start to wonder, like, well, why did you even hire us if you know better? So we definitely have our share of those folks, and it's all about the professionalism and working with them. At the end of the day, like, again, they did come to us. We have to be respectful of that.
For sure.
They're not malicious in any term. They're bursting at the seams with ideas.
Yeah.
And so trying to bottle that and release it in a healthy way on the project is probably the most trickiest part, though, of the creative process.
That makes sense. And being a creative yourself and looking at Product Hunt and reading a lot and just scouring the internet for information and ideas, I'm sure you must have plenty of potential business ideas, right?
Oh yeah.
So at what point do you think you'll start executing on those? Or is it too early to say you're like too deep in the trenches with VBI right now? Because I mean, I would ask like an exit plan, but I mean, like as you say, like you didn't start this with like anything in mind other than starting it because you enjoyed to do it and it allowed you. So for the foreseeable future, you think you'll be 100% all in, work-wise at least, on what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% all in, very deep in the trenches. I'm excited to share some really awesome news here within the next month or so.
Okay.
But yeah, after that, it's hard telling. But like I said, completely in the trenches. We got some big things to build here.
That's all. If you ever need a chief discipline officer, I don't think it exists anywhere. I don't like chief motivation officer, which I think like Denial Esports had that at one point, like chief motivation officer, where he just goes in and shouts at them like, "Work harder, bros." It's just like, and he's like 45, like hanging around gamers.
I think I know who you're talking.
Yeah,
about.
I can't even remember his name, but he had like cars and in a helicopter.
Yeah, he was from Vegas.
Probably so, yeah. So if you ever need a chief discipline officer to just come in and be like, you're doing great. Just make sure you stay on track, but also take a break, have a sip of water.
Right.
How's your posture right now?
Right.
Okay, good. Okay, it's 5 p.m. Go home. Like, you know what I mean? To switch off your laptop, switch off your MacBook and go sleep. If you ever need anything, mate, like don't I'm not asking for a job offer. I'm happy with Deserto. I need to no, I think Mike won't watch this anyway. Mike can't. He won't watch this, but if he does, I think he knows me well enough to know I'm not gonna just bugger off. Certainly not on camera asking for a job, right? So I'm gonna stop acting like I'm gonna get fired because I'm way too valuable to him now, right? So, oh, Jesus Christ! I'll tell you what. Though, one thing before I will let you crack on very shortly and go enjoy the rest of your day, but. Like imposter syndrome's a real thing, and I've finally got over it in like the past 2 months. I think maybe the past 2 months, and like that is the most freeing shit ever. And I can't. That's one thing I've been trying to like distill, like how to not necessarily get over it, but at least come to terms with it and start like going in the right direction. Trying to distill it to just share it with people because it's something I've gone through, but I've never been able to find the words for that. Have you like had any sort of imposter syndrome? Because I mean, I assume it's present along a lot of creatives and people who do quite well.
Every single day.
Oh, still?
Every single day. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I have to caveat that with there's also a part of my brain that like sits on my shoulder or whatever and just goes, you know what? F your feelings at the end of the day. Because there's a part of me that goes, well, who are you to talk about e-commerce? Who are you to talk about digital marketing? Who are you to talk about entrepreneurship? You're a first-time founder. What merits
look
does
what
that
you're
hold?
building.
Exactly. And then you have that another moment where you kind of stop and smell the flowers and you go, oh, wait a second, like look what we've accomplished. I came from nothing to do this.
I think one part of it is like you start to take for credit the things that you've accrued and amassed over time. Like everything you've learned, everything you had to go through, you kind of over time, it just kind of compresses itself and it's just like, that's just my journey. That's it now. Like you kind of forget like, oh, at one point I didn't know how to do this thing in Photoshop and now I could do it. Or like, I didn't know motion graphics before, but now look what I can create. Like, and once you've learned how to do this new job, this new task, whatever it may be, it's kind of like, okay, I've got that in the back pocket now. And then you come back 2 years later, you look at it and go, oh, it's piss. That was so easy. Right. And it's easy to like discredit yourself from like what you didn't know prior. So I think it's that's what I had to do myself. Like I had to go back and kind of retrace my steps. And then I also had to, like, sounds a bit mean, but look around me and look at the level of everyone else, right? And I'm kind of like, well, I mean, I'm not the best at what I do, but I'm somewhere towards the top-ish. So like, okay, how have I gotten there in just 3 years? Because like I've no formal education in journalism. Like this is my first time really going for it as such. I was basically a blogger before, you know?
Right.
And yeah, you have to like retrace your steps, but I'm still yet to really distill it down and be able to put my finger on it because it's almost an intangible because it's something to do with feelings. And I'm pretty shit with feelings as it is. Like
like I said,
almost a robot. Yeah. And that's handy until like you want to have a life outside of work and like have friends and family and stuff.
They're like, okay, feelings come back.
Yes, but I think I actually attribute it to the year of like mad grinding I did, where like I basically like compartmentalized my feelings and like tucked them away. So like I was very just neutral all the time until maybe 2-3 months ago as well. I've just had a lot of personal breakthroughs in the past 2-3 months, which I'm very grateful for. But like, yeah, it was just it's strange. I would have these feelings about myself, like, oh, you're not worthy, you're not doing, like, you don't deserve to be where you are. But then like that would be it, or it'd just be completely neutral. Never happy, even if the best thing happened to me. Never sad if the worst thing happened to me. I'm just moving forward like an unstoppable force, which is it has its I guess pros and cons, you know.
There's just so many phases to it. So many phases to it.
Drinking water is almost always a hobby of mine as well. I may add. I don't know if
absolutely.
I've been going at it this whole time. I apologize. I'm not trying to be ignorant.
No, not at all. I was gonna say,
sorry.
I had those moments with VBI. Had that moment at Nike. I will never forget our new hire orientation at Nike.
I imagine
and they dropped like a staggering figure on us. There was probably 20 or 30 of us in a room there on campus, first day, and they go, look, there's a reason why you're here. And, we're all like, yeah, I guess,
Sure.
they're like, we get 70,000 resumes a month, and there's like 30 of you sitting in this room right now. And then like that really messes with your head. And then you start wondering like, well, do I deserve to be here? Like, are you just, you have it everywhere you go, man. And I struggle with it, like I said, daily. But it's good to keep those demons at bay, because they are inhibitors, to you, to your career, to your work relationships, your friendships, so on and so forth. It to me, it's like one of the roots of all evil.
For sure. And then you go the opposite way. So you've got your imposter syndrome one way. You've got egotistical, absolutely, I'm the shit, I cannot be improved. Right. So I think it's almost better to be as less like you're gonna upset less people if you're on this end of the spectrum, as opposed to just thinking you are the absolute shit, and like you'll grow stagnant and shit that way, and it's just foolish. But so I'm at the point where I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm doing some good shit. The best shit's still ahead of me, and I can keep proving myself to myself over time. And that's what it is, like I'm not going to question it, because I'd have been found out by now if I was indeed an imposter and absolutely faking it, So, but like with you, I think like, do you reckon over time, like when you've got your fifth successful company under your belt in no time at all, mate, it'll be here before you know it. I'm sure you'll get the bug. But like at that point, do you envision yourself being like, okay, I've proven it to myself time and time over now that I can do this shit. Like I know I can do this. I've proven it. So no longer am I going to have those voices in my head.
Yeah, I think that you start to turn more towards like causes and like not social work. I'm trying to think of the right word. Whereas like for me personally, like I can't be idle. I always have to be doing something. I cannot stand doing nothing, and that's why like gaming is hard, because I enjoy it, but I definitely feel like I'm blowing off whatever else I should be doing. So even if on fifth company, whatever else, I think I'll turn more towards a cause or mission to represent certain groups of people. And of course, we're trying to do that right now. But once you're on your fifth or whatever business, it almost becomes autopilot, in terms of putting the rails on that thing, growing it and going forward. But kind of having a legacy, that's really important.
For sure. And look, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I've probably scratched 25% of the surface of what I would like to have gotten into. But look, like I think for me at least, it's been an enjoyable conversation. I've learned quite a bit, and I hope other people at home can do too. You know everything already, because you are an absolute master. So there's no way you could have taken it from this man. You are really humble as well, and it makes me think like, oh shit, I need to be more humble, because I like. But I'm like, if I'm ever cocky, it's like joking. But like you are like noticeably humble as fuck. It's insane. And obviously like, you're good, but like keep that shit going, man. It's great. And look, I would love to speak to you again one day. Hopefully now that we've established this, I will find it in myself to not be a piece of shit, and I will actually reach out to you and have a conversation with you.
Because chess now from you or something. It's something that I've been trying to get into.
If you ever want to lose in a game of chess, then feel free to hit me up and we'll get that going. I'm also really competitive, by the way. I'm not the best person to have a casual game with.
You're the type of person that would take the piece and throw it, in person.
Oh, the moment I mess up once, the moment I see a semblance of loss, it's out of there. We're starting again. Yeah, for sure. But thank you very much, mate. Obviously, keep doing what you're doing. I think you're obviously doing great things. I think many people in the industry do look up to you and will continue to look up to you as it grows. And we're lucky to have people like yourself in positions of influence and, as you say, kind of like leadership and thought leadership. So keep putting out the good stuff, because if it's not working for anyone else, it works for me every single day, mate. So I appreciate it. All right. And for everyone watching at home, yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to say it this time. Please subscribe to my channel. It's the first time I've ever asked you to do so, but come on, like, I'm being actually consistent for once, so
thumbs
please do
up,
it, you know.
like
Or
it.
thumbs up, comment, share it with your grandma, granddad, all of the rest of your family, and refresh my channel every 3 seconds for the rest of your life for the next bit of content.
You never know when that new content's rolling out.
Oh, the Fitch train's just getting going as well. Thank you very much, mate, and thanks
Thank you,
everyone
Adam.
watching.